The network diagram is a simple image of arrows and regular shapes which depicts the sequence of activities from the start until the finish of a project. Learn the rules and procedures on how to draw it here in construction engineering and project management. CPM uses a precedence diagram, which can be drawn in two different ways. The first one of which is the AOA, or Activity on Arrow technique, which uses arrows for the activities. The activity on node, or AON, has additional nodes on the end of each arrow, where the activities are written. Before drawing a network, we should master the elements of network diagramming. The first illustration shows that activity A precedes B, which means that B cannot start unless activity A is finished. With the next illustration, both activities A and B should be completed as they precede activity C. This illustration shows that the completion of activity A signals the start of two activities B and C. The succeeding illustration reflects that activities C and D can start after the completion of activities A and B. The next illustration introduces us to a dummy or dummy activity. Activity C is only dependent on the completion of A, but activity D requires the completion of both activities A and B. The dummy activity is designated by a broken line, and this has zero duration. There are different principles of networking. First, every part of the network has a meaning. The arrows in the network stands for the activities, and the nodes are the events, such as completion of excavation. The node is shown in circle, but the designer can use any geometrical structure for it. Next, each configuration of the arrows also have meanings, and an activity can only start after the completion of all the preceding activities. Multiple succeeding activities are normal, and they can occur as long as those preceding them are completed. Such activities intersect paths at a single node. Principle 2 can be summarized as follows. An activity has a single definite starting point and a single definite ending point. No matter how many springs out from an activity, it would always have a single start node and an end node. Principle 3 states that the network does not describe time relationships, but rather dependency relationships. That is the reason why we do not need to scale the lengths of the arrows. The last principle. The network is hardly ever done by a single person, as this diagram is a complicated process if intricate details be added in it. In summary, the network diagram consists of the activities, their events, time, dummy activities, duration of an activity, and the paths. Now, what are the functions of a dummy? First, the dummy activity's primary function is to clarify relationships to identify dependencies. From the illustration, it is clear that activity C only requires the completion of A. However, activity D only starts after the preceding activities A and B are finished. Another function of a dummy is to distinguish paths, as there should be no two activities which have the same start and ending nodes. Say that we have staking and butterboards starting at event 1 and ending at event 2, just the same. If we are to trace their paths, we say events 1 to 2, which makes it quite confusing if we are referring to staking or butterboards. So by placing a dummy node and activity, we can clearly mean path 1, 2, 3 as staking and path 1, 3 as butterboards. The dummy function can be shown in the example where both activities A and B precede C. But D only depends on activity B and not anymore with A. Lastly, similar with the second function and the principle that there should only be one ending node, dummy activities are used to identify individual paths for activities. Now that we have an idea on how to place the sequence of activities in the diagram, we focus on placing the correct order or number of the nodes or events. There are some rules to be followed, which would be all events should be numbered starting from left and they progress directed to the right. The other rule considers similar level events, whereby their numbering would have to be from top to bottom.